Welcome to CramerSez. CramerSez. Be part of the show at CramerSez.com. Interact on Twitter at CramerSez. Now, CramerSez.
Welcome. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez podcast. It's Thursday. May the 4th be with you. May 4th. Thought I'd throw that in there. It's CramerSez Live. Welcome to the show. You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, and sometimes IG. We're on there right now. They don't get to see all the videos, but they can hear everything and hear the interviews and so on. Account number 87 is still live on TikTok, believe it or not, as we roll into Friday night. It's not, I'm rolling into Friday. Generally, it's already gone by now. You can always catch the CramerSez podcast at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. We'll be taking calls here shortly at 877-619-3899. And don't forget the merch store. I don't push it. I don't want you to think that I'm demanding you go do that. But if you haven't been on the CramerSez website, if you haven't been on the social media platform that we've set up for you there to be able to have free speech and share your content among friends and so on, go do it now. And while you're there, if you feel the need, drop into the merch store and help us support what we're doing here at CramerSez. With that being the case, let me be really blunt here. Well, let me put it this way. The Biden corruption saga continues. Republicans now claiming that the FBI has evidence of criminal activities, and it's not Hunter Biden. No, remember, everybody said, well, I'm not worried about Hunter. It's the dad that I'm voting for. Dad's corrupt as well.
News from Washington involving President Biden. Our senior national correspondent, Rich Edson, has got more about a document that a senator and the head of the Oversight Committee in the House are looking for. Rich?
Hi, John. Good afternoon. The House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says that he's issued a subpoena to the FBI in a letter that he and Senator Chuck Grassley have sent to Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Chris Wray. They write that a, quote, highly credible whistleblower says the Justice Department and FBI have a form that, quote, describes an alleged criminal scheme involving then-President Biden and a former national relating to the exchange of money for policy decisions. It's been alleged that the document includes a precise description of how the alleged criminal scheme was employed, as well as its purpose. Now, Comer and Grassley provide no information on the identity of the whistleblower, what specifically they're alleging. In short, it's a subpoena for a document that an unidentified whistleblower says exists and shows illegal activity. It is unclear yet how the Justice Department will respond. We have reached out, John.
All right, so we don't know what this scheme is, only that it's believed that the DOJ and the FBI have information about this scheme?
Exactly. What these two Republicans are alleging is that there is a document that exists, and they've gotten that information, they say, from a whistleblower, an unidentified whistleblower, and that the document exists within the Department of Justice and the FBI showing an illegal scheme, allegedly involving the vice president, and that they are requesting that information now officially with a subpoena from the FBI and Justice Department. But these Republicans have not seen that document. And they have just sent the subpoena request because a whistleblower told them it exists within the FBI. That's where we are right now with this.
All right. Are we going to be hearing from them in the near future, do we know?
Unclear. I believe that they are going to speak to cameras on Capitol Hill. And, of course, we've got a full team up there ready to cover.
There you go. We've been talking about it for months. We've been telling you for 2 years that the Biden family is corrupt as all get out. In addition to that, Joe has been corrupt for over 40 years. He claims that he's been in Washington, D.C. doing your work. No, he's been working the American people. We're going to get more into that. And it's interesting that as this information comes out, who's the first one to a camera? I mean, Adam Schiff is one of those guys that I just have to imagine. The moment that he opens the refrigerator door and that light comes on, he goes, ta-da! He thinks he's on camera. He loves being in front of the camera. And this is what he had to say today about what's going on with Joe Biden and these allegations.
I don't think you could put much stock in anything that Mr. Comer has to say because his track record is very poor. When they put before these so-called whistleblowers before Congress, none of it has borne out. I don't know whether this is just pure speculation that they believe there's a document of an interview. Well, there are lots of interviews. It doesn't necessarily mean there's any wrongdoing. So I wouldn't give much stock to this.
There you go. Remember what Adam was doing initially? Remember what Adam was saying just a few years ago, that he had all kinds of evidence about Trump and that Trump was a real threat to our democracy. Now he's saying that, well, the guys that have actual evidence potentially, that they're exaggerating it. Let's go back and let's remember what Mr. Shifty Shift was saying just a couple of years ago.
I got to ask you something that you said also to me on Sunday, is that you thought that at the time former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper was too definitive when he said no evidence of collusion at the time that he served through essentially January 20th of this year. What basis can you feel confident saying that the Director of National Intelligence oversold something?
Well, look, I don't think it was deliberate on the director's part, but all I can tell you is, reviewing the evidence that I have, I don't think you can conclude that at all.
Let's get into it right there. Let's talk about what we actually have going on here. Shift said he has evidence, actual evidence. Remember that? He said that he had actual evidence. He still hasn't brought it. Where's this actual evidence, Adam? Where is it? We do not believe you anymore. We don't believe Chuck Todd. We don't believe ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC. We don't believe you anymore because you're liars, all of you, and you're colluding together. You've been lying to us for at least the last 7 years that we know about. And it's time that the American people, that they raise their voices. I'm tired of having this goddamn conversation of nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing's ever going to happen. Do you know why it's not happening? I'm going to say it. I'm pissed off. I told my wife, I said, I know you don't like me to yell. You think that it drives people away. Well, let me be clear. I'm tired of people saying that nothing's ever going to happen as they do nothing. This motherfucker right here, he's not going to do anything different. He's not going to change his stripes. He's not going to start suddenly telling the truth. He can't. It's not in his nature. So if you're expecting him or others to change the system that they all work within, without your help, without my help, you're being childishly naive. Shift continues.
Far from it.
But you admit it's all you have right now is a circumstantial case.
Actually, no, Chuck. I can tell you that the case is more than that, and I can't go into the particulars.
Because he doesn't have any. Oh, it's more than circumstantial. We've got hard proof that Trump peed on a hooker. That's what they were claiming at the time. Aren't you pissed yet? You should be fucking livid, enraged, looking for vengeance. Because as this motherfucker lies to you on a daily basis, he's enriching himself on the work that you do on a daily basis. You go to work, you get there on time, you pay your bills, you do what you're supposed to do. These motherfuckers want to penalize you at every turn and then lie to you and expect you not to remember what they've done before and the lies they've told before. Shift continues.
But there is more than circumstantial evidence now.
There's not more than circumstantial evidence, sir. You're a fucking liar. You, Adam Schiff, are a liar. A liar. So is Swalwell. So is Pelosi. You're a liar. We have proof. You act as if we don't have the internet. You act as if we don't have access to the footage of you lying. We don't believe you. This is how governments topple, folks. This is how it happens. We have lost faith in all systems in our nation. We don't trust the law. We don't trust the judicial system. We don't trust our politicians. We don't trust the mainstream media. And why? Because of motherfuckers like this. Chuck Todd sitting right there. Chuck Todd had the opportunity to say, sir, are you sure? And push back. He didn't. He went along with it because Chuck Todd is not a journalist. Chuck Todd is not a reporter. He's a shill. He's a talking head. He's a bobblehead. Yep, I'll say whatever you want me to say as long as you give me enough money. And as long as you do, let me do whatever I want to do. And if I get in trouble, you cover my path. That's the fucking morons that we're listening to on a daily basis. They don't have any character. They don't have anything that tells them that what's happening is wrong. No, they just got to keep fucking selling this goddamn heartless, endless narrative that just keeps putting us deeper and deeper in debt. And not us. You and I are never going to pay this bill back. We will work until we're dead, but we're not going to pay it back. It's never going to be paid back. And let me jump into a couple of other things right now, because I want to I'm going to ramble a little bit. Because as I told my wife, I'm pissed. You should be too. As he stands there and lies to the American people, you're doing the right thing. You go to work every day. You pay your bills. You pay them on time. You try to make sure that your credit is correct, that it's right, that it's good, so that when you need to go out and buy a home, that you can go out and buy a home. When you want to go buy a car, or you want to get a big screen TV, or you want to put something on credit, that you have the credit rating that allows you to do that when you want to do it. Part of the American dream. We were told that if you did that, you could succeed. Now they punish you. The same guy that's lying to you right here is the same guy that voted for this deal and wants this deal to happen, where Biden has now put the pressure of those who pay their bills on time, those who have done the right thing, that go to work every day, that you're going to subsidize those who refuse to do those things. You should be livid. You should be pissed off beyond belief. You should be ready to take to the streets. The French are doing it. They're doing it because the age of retirement was raised by 2 years, from 62 to 64. The streets of France have been on fire for weeks. You're not seeing it in the media. They don't want you seeing that. They don't want you to see that the people who overthrew King Louis XIV and Marie Antoinette, they don't want you seeing that they're in the streets doing it again. They've entered BlackRock. They've entered major corporations. They're done. When do you reach your limit? Until you wait until it gets uncomfortable? Well, this is bullshit. There's nothing in the stores. We got to do something. By that time, it's too fucking late. I'm mad. I'm irate. And I'm not irate. I'm not mad at the criminals and those that are corrupt. I'm mad at you. I'm mad at those of you who keep saying the same fucking thing over and over again on social media. Nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing's ever going to happen. Do you know why? Because until you step up, until you speak up, they're going to do what they're going to do. Don't hate the game. Don't hate the players. It's your fault. It's my fault. I take some responsibility for this because, I was asleep at the wheel for a long time too. I'm awake now. Fully fucking awake. Trying to do my best to be the canary in the coal mine, the squeaky wheel that says, hey motherfucker, hey motherfucker, hey motherfucker, there's something wrong in our nation, and it's you. It's not me. I'm doing my part. It's you sitting there lazy on your couch saying nothing will ever happen. I tell you, anybody that puts that stuff on my social content or my social media platforms anymore, anybody that comes in and says nothing's ever going to happen, I block you because you're useless to us. You'll never stand up. I can't expect you to be in my foxhole because you don't have the courage to stand up in your neighborhood, in your community. You don't have it. 80% of people don't have it. They're go along to get along. Yes, I'm upset. I'm tired of it. As I see what's happening at the southern border, which we will get into here in just a moment. But in the meantime, you've got some people that are speaking up, that are starting to say, hey, listen, something happened, something isn't right, and the American people need to know. Now, is it a day late and $1 short? Well, for Fox News it is, but that doesn't change the fact that right here, Jesse Waters is spitting fire.
Every time something came into the bank accounts got flagged. This guy was a walking crime syndicate, and they covered it all up before the election. That's why people, Kayleigh, don't think the last election was free and fair, because the American voter deserved to know these things. And about 7 things involving Joe Biden and his criminal family were hidden from the American people. And they had a right to base their votes on that information, and that was taken away from them. And that's why it wasn't fair.
That right there is the understatement of the decade. That's why it wasn't fair. Fox News was one of the organizations that brought us to where we are now. They play the exact same role that ABC, NBC, CBS, all the major news outlets, they are no better. OAN, Newsmax, no better. Especially Newsmax. Newsmax you can throw in the fucking trash. They are so afraid of confrontation that you can't be a journalist. You cannot be a reporter, especially an investigative reporter, if you're fearing being sued all the time. That's part of the game. That's part of the cost of doing what you do. Well, the Dominion came in and sued Fox News and got nearly $1 billion out of them. No, they didn't. That's not what happened. That's what they want you to believe happened. That did not happen. What happened is BlackRock, who owns 15% of Fox News, BlackRock, who owns a majority share in Dominion, sued their own companies. So they pay it from one pocket, put it into another pocket. It becomes a loss on one side, and they can take it down in their taxes. And on the other side, it's a gain. And since it's listen to this. This is insidious. Because it's a lawsuit, there are no taxes paid on lawsuit revenue. You don't pay anything on the money that you get from a lawsuit. Just like insurance policies. When an insurance policy program runs its course and you get paid out, somebody dies and you get the money, you don't have to pay taxes on that. You see how they play the game now? As I've been saying for the last several weeks, folks, I'm not playing by our rules anymore. I'm playing by their rules. And their rules are, there are no rules. Everything's allowable. As long as you don't do certain things to certain people. Are you tired of losing? Are you tired of playing this game where you get up every morning and you just say, why the fuck am I going through the motions? Why am I doing this today? If you feel like that, I'll tell you what I've told my sons. It's your fault. You're not a slave. You can do and go and be anything you want to be if you're willing to make sacrifices. All success is based on sacrifice. All goals take sacrifice. You mean I won't be able to have, this fancy car? No, nope, can't have that. That's the sacrifice. You want your freedom? Can't have the car. Sorry. You want your liberties? No, you're going to have to get out of your house at night and go knocking on doors and seeing if you've got fellow Americans that feel the exact same way. In fact, I'm doing that this weekend. That's all I'll be doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that's what I'm doing. Why aren't you doing that? Does it hurt when I ask you that? When I directly ask you, why aren't you playing the role that you're supposed to play? You complain about it. You bitch about it. You moan about it. What the fuck are you doing? I want to say it one more time. They're not going to fix the problem. They are the problem. Does cancer cure itself? It does not. Does halitosis, bad breath, does it cure itself? No, it does not. Do ingrown toenails, do they cure themselves? No, they do not. Does tree rot cure itself? No, you've got to treat it. It's the same thing here. We've got a rot in our nation, and we're all sitting back saying, nobody else is going to fix it. Well, what if you're the only one left? Who's it left to then? Well, it's left to you. Why don't you take that energy now and do that now? Why don't you jump into the game and say, you know what? I'm tired of my country. I'm tired of my country being destroyed from within by lesser men and women who do not have the courage, intellectually or morally, to do what's right for the American people. I'm going to step up. It's going to take you. It's not me. I'm just one guy. Two people. Now, you can do all kinds of things with two people. You can pick up a board that was too heavy for one person. You can build things that was too hard to build with one person. And with two people, it's a lot easier to get that third. And with that third, well, it's exponential at that point. Heard a lot about that in the last 2 years, haven't you? Exponential growth, exponential growth. They're afraid of that. That's why they keep shutting us down at every turn. You can't do this, you can't do that. New York just outlawed, this is amazing to me, New York just outlawed gas stoves. For new buildings, new constructions, nope, you don't get gas stoves. You've got to have electric. No choice. We've made the decision. The Karens in the room have made the choice. You don't get that anymore. It's not big enough, Kramer. It's not a big issue. Now they're telling you in California that you can't have a gas-powered anything. They're making the decisions for you. At what point do you start making the decisions for your own life? You pay for everything. You go to work every day. It's you that powers this nation. These motherfuckers, the experts, don't do dick. It's you. It's your sweat. It's your muscles that ache at the end of the day. It's you that are tired, not them. No, they go out to their fancy restaurants and they're talking about how stupid we are. How easy we are to fool. And how they can go from one narrative to the other and you jump on it as if you didn't see the examples that they just did the last time. For example, where'd the balloon story go? We got a new balloon floating over us. Where the fuck did it go? Oh, it's gone. Because the last time they made too much of a hissy fit about it and it made Biden look bad. So they've been pulled in on the carpet and said, we're not going to talk about this new balloon that's floating above us. No, we want to focus on Dylan Mulvaney. We want you to look at sports. We want you to do this. If you know the final days of Rome, folks, this is exactly it. It was games and handouts. That's how they kept the people happy. They had games. Send them to the Colosseum. Let's burn some Christians. Let's have the lions and tigers and bears, oh my, come out and for their pleasure, destroy the people that they hate. Cancel culture is no different. It's a different Colosseum, but it's got the same effect. Had a conversation today with a lady who said that, I can't speak out because, I need my job. Mm-hmm. You don't have a job. You don't get it yet. Your job is about to go bye-bye. The banks are collapsing. I've been I've been evangelizing and preaching on this subject, in particular, the banks, in particular, for the last 6 months. I've said we're going into failure. And all the experts came out and canceled me and said, no, Kramer, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what we know. Really. I'm going to tell you again and again and again, it's not going to get any better until you step up. It's not going to get better for you, your kids, your grandkids, anybody until you raise your voice. Kramer, I'm the only one. Who cares? I'm the only one right now. Others are the only ones in their area right now. We're the only ones raising our voice. We're the only ones so pissed off at what's going on in our nation and how the futures of our children are being destroyed. We're bold enough, courageous enough to stand and take the slings and arrows of whatever they have to give us. And we stand alone. How do we stand, Kramer? You show up. Where? Pick a passion. I don't care what it is. Schools, education, that's your passion? You want to get the schools in play? Then get 4 or 5 other mama bears and daddy bears and you show up at school board meetings from now on. That's what you do. That's your social part of the week. That's how you get together. Build that fucking network. Make the system what you want it to be and hold these motherfuckers accountable. And if they refuse to listen, then we play the games of the left. Let's show up at their house at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's embarrass them. Let's make their neighbors put pressure on them. The left does it. It seems to work. But we want to take the high road, Kramer. There are no trophies on the high road, I'm telling you. All the trophies are on the low road. You want to be a cowboy wearing a white hat? You got to go back 180 years. Otherwise, you're fucked. Those days have passed primarily because the American people have been quiet and silent for so long. They've been silent for so long that they think it's supposed to be this way. It's not supposed to be this hard. Inflation has stripped us, they say. It's not inflation, it's greed. When 50% of our debt, what we're paying towards the debt, when 50% of that is just paying the interest on it, we've spent too much. Too many things have been promised to too many people. We cannot afford it. All the pensions in the U.S., every public pension is underwater. All of them. They can't sustain it. And for those of you who think foolishly and childishly that Noguera and Segarra is going to come in and save you, it's a pipe dream. It does not exist. You're live with CramerSez. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hey.
Go ahead. You're on the you're online.
Hey, yeah, this is Hoyle from Florida.
Well, go ahead. What's on your mind tonight?
Tell you what's got me pissed off is these taxes, man. They're killing us with these taxes, and they're just sending them over to Ukraine, and it's driving me absolutely insane.
Are you self-employed?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Do you want to stop it? Because
Yeah,
there's a way to do
absolutely.
it. There's a way to do it, and all Americans can do this. Go into your HR department tomorrow and tell them, I don't want to pay taxes anymore. I want to take every allotment. I want to take every opportunity I have not to pay taxes. I want everything.
Yeah, you can go tax exempt for sure.
Go tax exempt tomorrow.
Oh, I can. But then at the end of the year, or at the middle of next year, they're gonna come after all my shit I got.
Nope, they're not. Because you can go ahead. See, here's the thing. If you go tax exempt, you have the opportunity to pay those taxes. You can get current. You just got to save the money up. But wouldn't it be better to save that money in your account and draw interest than to give it to them and let them waste it? My son had to wait, this is a couple of years ago, post-COVID, had to wait 2 years for his return. 2 years because they were so far behind. That money belonged to him. Several $1,000s belonged to him. So I said, well, why are you giving them your money? Well, that's what I got to do. No, you don't. Nope. You got to keep track of it.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Okay, so
either way, I'm still going to have to pay it to them.
Well,
and then they're just going to piss it away.
No, that's not true. You see, this is what people don't understand. If you do it, and everybody in your company does it, and then everybody in your city does it, and everybody in your state does it, just one state that stops paying the taxes for a year, the government is fucked. They'd have to come to the table. That's called leverage.
This morning,
it's called leverage.
I told my wife this morning if I could get a big enough amount of people where we could all get together and all go tax exempt, it would screw everything up.
Yep.
It would fuck them completely.
Well, then that's your passion. That's what you do. You don't have to get into the streets and yell and scream or go burn shit down and riot and loot. The way that you do is you find one thing that you're passionate about, and then you take leadership on that. Scott Presley's a great example. Scott Presley's the young man who's gone around the country showing people how to create grassroots movements. But that started by him saying, I just want to clean up communities. And he would show up at a community and say, I'm here to help you clean up your community and organize it so that we can get this block cleaned up. Now he's known all over the country because he took the initiative. Leadership is you doing what you feel passionate about first and doing it so well and being so effective that you get others to go along with it. You start having the same exact passion there, where you tell the people in your community, listen, we don't get our country back until we take it back. The leverage you have is your paycheck. That's the only leverage we have as American citizens right now.
I agree, 100%.
So what do you... go ahead.
I'm next election cycle, I'm running for county commissioner in my county.
Congratulations.
And one thing that I'm running on is to stop paying property taxes.
Yep.
Because it's absolutely ridiculous to me that these people can work their entire life. They get to 65 and they retire, and then they're continuing to have to pay
rent to the government. Rent to the government.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they could be 80 years old, have lived there for their entire life for the last 50, 60 years, and then the government just comes in and takes it because they can't pay their property taxes.
Yep.
So that's one thing that I'm running on.
Well,
whenever I run for county commissioner, I'm going to at the very least get it put on the ballot where we can do away with it at 65.
I think that's
if not beforehand.
I think that's a move towards what America wants. There are a group of people, and it's interesting to me. Mitt Romney hit on this back in 2012. And we found out that 47% of the people in this nation are dependent upon the government in one way, shape, or form for their existence. 47%. Do you think that half of the country, that they're ever going to vote in anything against their own interest? They're not. So the only way that we can do these things and make this change is to take the actions that you're talking about right now.
And the thing of it is they're just not smart enough to realize, or they believe the bullshit to the point where whenever it comes around to election cycle, they come into their communities and they tell them, they shit them out all these rainbows and flowers and everything, and then they don't see them for the next 4 years or for the next 3.5 years or whatever.
Well, that's what I've said time and time again, is that you only hear about your politicians when they need your vote. They're non-existent when you need their help.
Absolutely. You can't get it. You can't get in touch with them. They're not doing anything any other time.
Yep, I agree 100%. Thanks so much for calling tonight, and good luck with your election in the fall. It's amazing to me that exactly what he just said, that the American people think it has to be this way because that's the way it is. Obama, when he would talk about abortion, what did he say? This is law. It's been law since 1972. This used to be legal to have slaves too. We can change laws. Just because the law is there doesn't mean we have to keep it. It's arbitrary. If we wanted to tomorrow, if the American people really wanted to tomorrow, they could say, you know what? We want all drugs legalized. If you overdose, that's a problem, but it's on you. We're going to get rid of all the programs that support people who refuse to work. Listen, if you've got a disability, if you're mentally ill, you've got these situations, I want to help you. I'm compassionate. I have empathy. But if you're just a fat ass who wants to sit at home, well, I'm too fat. We can cure that. You can't walk because you're too fat? Well, Kramer, you're talking about, listen, we are in this country dying because we have too much. Go back and look. Go back and look at the school pictures in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. The fat people were an anomaly. I'm going to say it again. The fat people were the anomaly during that period. And if you go back further, it was so strange to be fat that they were in the circus. They were in the freak shows. You can't go to Walmart now and throw a rock without hitting 10, 15, 20. It'll bounce off of them and hit all of them like a pinball machine. I'm trying to lose weight. Do you know why I'm trying to lose weight? Because it's good for your health. Why is it good for your health? Because you shouldn't consume too much. I learned the hard way. I was right at 315 pounds when I had my heart attack. Yep, that'll give you a wake-up call. So I was a big boy, fat, big jowls. Decided I didn't want to die from being a fat ass. When I call people out, 9 times out of 10, I've experienced it myself. I've figured out the solution. Ricky Gervais puts it best. We know how to cure obesity. You just keep your mouth shut. You don't eat. The problem is that eating is just as addictive as smoking or heroin or any other thing that you put into your body. Your body craves it. And oddly, when you're on a diet, the only commercials that you see on TV are those for food. With that being said, I'll be right back after this. A message from our sponsor. This is Tusk. If you don't have the Tusk browser, go get yourself the Tusk browser. It is a brand new way for conservatives to search the web. They are currently building a new search engine. So for those of you going, well, they use Google or they use Quant or they use Bing, you can choose any one of those that you want. But let me give you a little bit of news about the search engines on this planet. There's not a single search engine on this planet, not a single one right now, that is conservative based. Did you know that? They're all liberal. They're all owned by the big tech. Right now, Tusk is trying to solve that problem by building out their own search engine. While that's being done, they've given a browser that they have given an AI to that allows you to search the web. You can go in there and choose whether you want to be liberal, whether you want to be conservative, or you want your news and information right down the center. Go get it right now. Tusk, the Tusk browser at tuskbrowser.com. Welcome back. My name is Kramer. This is CramerSez Live. You can watch us every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, sometimes YouTube. TikTok is still alive, number 87. We'll see if it's still there when we go back. And you can always catch us on Instagram as we stream live there. You can't see the videos and so on, but you can hear the content of what we're doing. You're live with CramerSez. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yo, Craig, what's up? It's Brooklyn, bro.
Hey, Brooklyn, what's up, buddy?
No, Mike. I just wanted to double check. So you're saying that if you get money from a lawsuit, they legally cannot take taxes. Is this like countrywide? Or is this certain states? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's for. And I haven't checked in the last 72 hours, but yeah, I've been the recipient of both insurance and lawsuit claims, and it's non-taxable because it's not income.
Yeah, because I'm going to research that because supposedly they take, from my understanding here in the city, like, I know people with lawsuits, and they take taxes out of it. So, I'm wondering because, if that's going on, it's time to research some of these law firms. Like, bro, where's my money? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's my understanding that I know on insurance policies, a death benefit, for example, is not taxed, and if you get $200 million from CNN for lying about you, that isn't taxed either. Now, for the attorneys, their piece is taxed. But for the recipient of the award, it's a non-taxable income because it's not income.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. I'm gonna look into that. But yeah. So I wanted to touch on what you said about Newsmax. Unfortunately, I'm the type of person I'm very honest about everything. And as soon as they canceled Tucker, as soon as Harris Faulkner announced it, after 8 o'clock, I abandoned. I haven't been Fox since. Unfortunately. I've been watching Newsmax because I didn't know better. But it kind of today, and it's funny that you're talking about it. It's I was watching they have a commercial about helping out Trump and funding the lawsuit. What I did notice about that commercial is that they blurred out his campaign information, what I think CBS or NBC did. So I was like, well, if they're so pro-Trump, it's so pro to the right. Why are they you would want to?
Well, Newsmax is not. Newsmax is not. Let me give you an example of these news organizations. We had a group that came to us and said we want to create a conservative news channel, and we talked about it. And then I looked into who the people that were involved with it, and it wasn't anybody that was on the right. And they were just wanting to jump in because they see the money that's available. And so we have to be very concerned about who's running these organizations. I'll give you an example. Newsmax, they backed out of the Dominion issue. They've been sued by Dominion, but they're saying, hey, listen, we did everything in our power. When this information was put on our network, as soon as the information went out, we cut it. We didn't let anybody hear about it. So we did exactly what you wanted, Dominion. Please don't sue us. That's what Newsmax did. So it's important to know who you're watching. If they're afraid of telling you a story, Brooklyn, if they're afraid of being sued, and that's why they won't tell you a story, then they don't deserve the ability to be able to make money off of you from the ads that they're placing in their newscasts. Does that make sense?
No, and you're right. You're 1,000% right because I was listening to Megyn Kelly's podcast. She had James O'Keefe on, and he said the exact same thing. The news industry, it's not really it's not really that lucrative, especially if you're passionate about it and trying to get the truth out. Because James O'Keefe was just saying, how he spent millions, on one story, he spent $1 million, $1.5 million just to get the story because he wanted to get it out there. My concern, I don't want to say concern, but the thing is that Newsmax is so very boisterous and so I guess it's so blunt about trying to get Tucker on their show. But the thing is that why would you want to do that? Because Tucker's he's not going to change who he is. Why would
Well, because they see it as a ratings boost. I came from broadcasting, and that's all it is. It's clicks and eyeballs and ears. That's all they care about. Clicking on an ad, watching a TV, or hearing an ad on the radio. That's all they're concerned about. With that,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I get that, but the thing is that why would you want Tucker to come on your show when he's not gonna? You can't muzzle him. He's gonna.
Because they would try to. They would get him into a contract, and then they would try to get that contract where it gets tighter and tighter on Tucker until he would have to leave. Or maybe he won't leave. I don't know. I don't trust organizations that say that they're news and are afraid of reporting stories because they might get sued, and that's Newsmax. So regardless of everything else that's going on with Tucker and so on, that issue right there was enough for me to say, okay, fuck him. I don't have any use for him.
And you know what it is? Someone pointed this out, and they said that the firing of Tucker is like the signaling of the end of cable news, like cable news networks in general, because it's kind of, because like now it's like, all right, Tucker's over there now we all like Fox is showing their hand.
I don't believe that, Brooklyn. I don't think that that's the case. I think what it shows is,
Okay.
I think the end of it was when they came in and cleaned house over at CNN. You see, Fox is
you mean
profitable.
the Larry King era?
Well, no. Just here recently, they cleaned house just a few weeks ago. Not the Don Lemon deal. They shook everybody up, and they got MSNBC got rid of a bunch. They got rid of Brian Stelter. So that's the end of it. That was the end of it. Of that, because it's not profitable. So they're going to get rid of these $1 million talents, and they're going to put somebody else in there. They'll fill it with dead stuff that doesn't cost them any money to do, right? They'll deadhead the shows. And then getting rid of Tucker was more, I think, it's not the end of something for us. It's the beginning of something new. I think what the firing of Tucker Carlson showed us is that these organizations that we'd given our attention to and put our faith in, that they're not what we thought they were. Now, we've known that for a long time, but the firing of Tucker confirmed it, that Fox News is nothing more than just one more property that the Murdochs own. So, they're not on our side. And there may be some people on Fox News that are great patriots, but it seems like they just fired two of the biggest ones, and the others all decided to keep their jobs.
Yeah, but now it goes, because the thing is that, Larry, so half of Tucker's audience abandoned Fox. Ratings are taking a shit everywhere. Now it's just like, who do we trust? Like, who do we go to now? So this is why I'm saying that I feel like this just signaled like the ending of it, because the thing is like, now where do we go? Because now everyone's gonna start going to like.
Where are you at tonight, Brooklyn?
O'Reilly.
Where are you at tonight? You're here. You're going to other sources that you put your faith and trust in, that they're going to tell you what they know without trying to put a spin on it or lie about it. This is the new right here. What we're doing. This is the new media. It's been democratized.
The thing is that, you see, but you're not cable. See, that's exactly my point. I think that cable news network is going to completely take a shit and just die out.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Wait, hold on. Right, and then you can have independent journalists like O'Keefe, like Megyn Kelly, like O'Reilly, like coming out, or like coming out with their own with their own channels, and they're going to broadcast the actual news, like stuff that's actually going on without filter and just putting it on the table.
But what I think they'll do is, I think that these news organizations will realize that they're going to lose money unless they do things the right way and actually go back to journalism. So what I think they'll do is they'll end up picking up Megyn Kelly, and she'll be back on some news channel. Tucker will be back on some cable news network at some point. Guys like myself, I've got several buddies that have been tapped. There was a program that I was supposed to start doing it was the last fall, right before the election, is that it was going to be shot in Vegas, and they didn't get the money together fast enough. There was what is her name? Callie Fontanella. I think that's her last name. Callie was going to be my co-host. So there's a number of things in motion. It's just where they fall. So I don't think it's the end. I think that what's happening is that these organizations are realizing they're going to have to restructure. This deal that they've had for the last several years, and I'll be real honest with you, Tucker Carlson is not a journalist. He's a talking head with an opinion. Right? He's not an investigative journalist. He doesn't go get information and dig it up. He's a talking head. I like Tucker. I like his style, and I like the information that he puts out there. But he's not like Catherine Herridge, if you know who she is. She used to be on Fox News, and I think she's on CBS now or ABC. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I've heard of her.
Okay, well, I don't know what side of the aisle she's on. I don't know. I've watched her for years on Fox. I assumed that she was a conservative. She may not be. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that when she reports on news, I get the information without any spin. She just says, here are the facts. Here's what we found. And so I look at her. So that's what I like about her.
There's no political bias.
Right.
Yeah, she just puts it out there.
And so I think what's going to happen is that these organizations are going to realize that there's a lot of money to be made in telling the truth. If we can get them to that point, Brooklyn, I think that right there will change the dynamics. When it becomes profitable to offer news unbiased, and opinionated, where it may piss somebody off and they don't watch it for 3 days. It's what I've been saying about this Bud Light deal. Bud Light, and I'm surprised it's gone this long. We're seeing still, weeks later, we're seeing
26% now.
People are not having anything to do with Bud Light. So, you can go to Costco, for example, and get, I think, a case of Bud Light for $14 at Costco. I mean, they're really dumping it, right? They're trying to get rid of it. So I think if people put the pressure on, and another thing, just stop watching it. If you're pissed off at the cable news, just stop watching it.
Well, that's going to be next. I jumped onto news because I'm big with boycotts. That's how you hit them. You hit them in the pocket. Now, if we could just get Nike to fall suit, Nike, who else? Coke, because they try that. Yep. That CRT bullshit, like Coke, ban them all and hit them in the pocket. I don't buy Coke anymore. I buy Pepsi. When it brings soda for kids.
It's no better. Pepsi's no better, right? They're part
really?
of it. They're just as woke. Let me give you an example real quick. This is
take the water.
This is what cracks me up is that most people don't know what's going on. 13 companies in the U.S. own everything that we do in touch, feel, hear. 13 in the food industry. 13 companies. They own everything. They own the food chains. They own the production. They own the farms. They own everything. Kentucky Fried Chicken, right, is owned by the same people that own Taco Bell. That's a PepsiCo company.
Yeah, which explains why they have only Pepsi, not Coke, as a beverage.
Right. So there's these wars that happen between them, but then when you go up to the next level up, right, and you get these 13 companies, well, you go up, and who has controlling interest in all of those 13 companies? BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Or they have a big enough stake that their voice is heard at the table. Same thing with our news outlets, right? There's only 6 media companies in this entire country. 6 media companies that control everything you read, see, and watch. From newspapers to publications online to the news outlets to the TV stations around in local communities. 6 companies own it all. All of it. And guess who owns controlling interest in those 6 companies?
Probably BlackRock.
BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. So this DEI initiative, diversity, equity, inclusion that you've heard and seen everywhere, where do you think that came from? Came from BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. It came from their initiative of pushing ESG. And ESG, people get bored with all this stuff, but ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And what they mean by governance is corporate governance, Brooklyn. They don't want you to make any decisions on your own. So if the government can't do something because of the law, then the corporations come in and they institute policies or rules that get the thing done. That's where we're at.
They go by ESG scoring system.
Exactly.
Et cetera, and that's pretty much what happened in Sri Lanka. They were trying to abide by the ESG score so hard that it bankrupted them, and that's why Sri Lanka happened. That's what happened to them.
The same thing is happening here. It's exactly why SVB went broke. SVB spent hundreds of millions of dollars of their investors' money trying to placate the ESG crowd. You can't do it. It's a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much money you pour in, they'll just make a bigger hole to get more money. And at the end of the day, the people that are more powerful are the politicians that align with ESG and the 3 companies in this nation that implement it, which are BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. When you say these things and you can see the hierarchy of how everything is structured, that's why it's important for us to raise our voices. People go, well, nothing's ever going to happen. Stop buying the shit that are on the shelves.
So that's what I try to do, yeah.
Stop buying Doritos.
If I see them,
Well, let me finish. So Anheuser-Busch, right? Anheuser-Busch, who do you think owns them? I'm going to give you a guess. Right? BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. They control about 95% of the S&P 500. That's scary. That means when Larry Fink says something at BlackRock, that it happens. And so we as the American people, what we have to do is we have to say, is my freedom more important than eating Doritos? Because Doritos, when you look at the chain, goes all the way back up to BlackRock. Right?
No.
Doritos.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
So if you switch from Bud Light right, to Coors. Now, Coors is privately owned. That's a different company. But if you go from Bud Light, for example, to what's the other one?
Corona is the same company.
Well, yeah, well, Corona is it may be brought in, but it's a Mexican company. What is it? Michelob Ultra. That's Anheuser-Busch, right? You go from drinking Pepsi, you go from drinking Coke to Pepsi. Well, you're still giving money to the same system because BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street control those companies. So, if people really want to take control, the first thing they would do is just say, "Listen, I'm done with this bullshit." Right? I'm going to learn how to make these things on my own. I'm going to start drinking tea that I grow myself. I'm going to start making lemonade that I grow myself. I'm going to go buy the lemons, right? I'm going to get everything natural. And this isn't for your health. This has nothing to do with being healthy.
I'm going to go fuck yourself.
It's telling them to go fuck themselves. I'm going to buy meat. I'm not going to buy processed food at all. Anything that's processed, I stop eating. Right? That right there, if the American people just said, listen, for a month, I'm not going, and they can convince people in their community, for a month, we're not buying any fast food at all. Well, it's going to hurt the local owners of those businesses. Sure, it is. And I feel for them. But the people above them have to feel the pain. If we can't make the people above them feel the pain, that's our leverage. Our wallet is our leverage. As I told the last caller, the moment that you stop paying your taxes and your neighbor stops paying their taxes and the neighbor next door stops paying, and then you get the block over and the next block, and then you get an entire city or an entire state. If the people in just one state, let's say California or Florida or Texas or Indiana, one state, if they would stop paying their taxes for a year, it would fuck everything up.
Of course, yeah, because they'll have to keep printing money, but there's nothing to back it.
There's nothing there.
I'm kind of almost there. Like, I don't really work. Like, I work like part time, and just everything else is side work. Because I'm very handy. So, but for that same reason, because look, my kids are in private school. Why am I paying tax for education? My kids aren't seeing it because I send them to private school. And it's actually funny that you remember civics class. My daughter's now learning about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's happening to pay for education. So, but that's why I don't believe in paying taxes. It's just like, why am I paying for her to learn and paying taxes for education when you're kind of like you're watering down her education. You're kind of omitting things that she needs to know. But when you pay for it, and they actually get a full education. So this is why, I'm a big believer, and I tell people to become an entrepreneur. Off the books, learn a skill,
That helped me when I opened up my own business. That really changed my insight on what was going on in this country and how fucked we were. I thought that I was paying taxes for people to have unemployment. I didn't know that the boss paid for that. I didn't know that came out of the business's pocket for unemployment. You go on unemployment, well, the boss is still paying you. I didn't know that. I thought that was from taxes. Nope. That's where we've been miseducated by the system, because Rachel Maddow several times has said, well, people have paid their taxes and they need to get their unemployment, because it was during COVID extending unemployment.
Yeah, but she's an idiot.
Well, she's an idiot.
Rachel Maddow,
because they don't know anything, right? It's our job to educate them, and educate them loudly. That's the number one thing that I try to tell people on a regular basis. Thanks for calling tonight, Brooklyn. Is that the education that you get comes from two forms: either you jumping in and learning about it, or somebody smarter than you educating you on it. You're live with CramerSez. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello? You're live. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello?
Is this Kramer?
This is me.
Okay. This is Dr. Joyce Scott from Tennessee.
Dr. Joyce, let me...
Yes.
What do you got to say tonight?
Well, I want to thank you for everything that you're doing, and I was going to encourage you just a little bit, because I was going to tell you that the other night when you were showing, like, Steve Bannon talking with Tim Burchett,
yep,
the representative of Tennessee,
yep,
I called his office today, and I told him to keep fighting and that I supported him. It was tough because I'm not in his district.
Right.
Representative Green's in mine. But I do have a good relationship with my state representative, who's Keesland. He comes to my office a lot, so I called him and he calls me. And another thing I was going to tell you also, about the Hillsdale College.
Mhm.
You're talking about the Constitution?
Yep.
Today I called Hillsdale. I'm doing a presentation for the graduation, and I requested constitutions to give out to the little students when they graduate.
Well, and there's
They didn't get it. They didn't get it in school, so we'll give it to them when they get out. you know.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, it's awful. And so
Hopefully,
then,
hopefully they can read it, because that's the
oh
problem,
yeah.
Joe.
Listen, I'm telling you, I've been doing these presentations, and it is really sad. I taught high school for 15 years. Then I was an RN, and then I went on to medical school when I was 44. So I'm an old, wore-out woman, and so I have a solo practice in the country. I do everything myself. I'm the doctor, the nurse, the reception, and so I have to do everything.
Well, like it used to be in the old days.
What, honey?
I said like it used to be in the old days.
Oh, well, I mean, I do it. I go out and fetch them in wheelchairs and roll them in.
Yep.
I do my own blood work. I do the venipuncture. I have to do all the prior authorizations. So when you talk about these taxes and everything, I definitely understand what you're talking about. It costs a lot of money to employ somebody, just one person.
Yep.
And so it just eats you up. But another thing that you talked about the other night, you was talking about Lloyd Brunson.
Yep.
And so I don't know if a lot of people, I thought maybe you might encourage the people who are on, because I follow you on my Twitter whenever I'm not sold off. And so, and I share your links on
I appreciate
Gab and on Truth Social. Your little social site is great. It's the cleanest thing ever was. I'm proud of it. And I went and checked out the Tusk, and I checked those out and trying to be a little bit more proactive, you know. But I mean, I really started all this probably back in 2008 when I was a Democrat up until that time, and then
Wow.
I thought, now listen, you all are taking that away from Hillary and giving it to Barack Obama. And I'll tell you what happened. In Tennessee in 2008, we voted, all the Democrats voted for Hillary Clinton, just like they voted for Bernie Sanders,
Yep.
just like they voted for Elizabeth Warren. And guess who they gave it to? Somebody else.
Yep.
And so that's what I think the Republicans are trying to do this time. They're playing like Democrats. They're taking our voice to who we want as a candidate, and they're going to pick their own.
Right.
And I hope we prove them wrong on that. But Lloyd Bronson and his brother, Rollins, had the first case. I think you're probably familiar with it
I
because
am.
I saw it on your
Yep.
I sent letters in to the Supreme Court, and I gave copies. I printed the letter off, and I gave it to my postman, the UPS man, my patients, anybody that came in. And I gave him an envelope, and I said, now go sign this and mail this in to the Supreme Court. And, you know, Rollins' case never got heard. Then he
Well,
appealed
it's not
it,
dead.
and it
It's
didn't get
not
heard.
dead. It's still active. They've got a secondary one that's kind of a backup, and it's still active. So this is not a dead issue yet. Go ahead.
Right. And so I'm hoping, Lloyd, you can go to his website, LloydBronson.com,
Yep.
and you can go on there and you can send a letter without even mailing it. You just have to give $1 or $2 for somebody else to mail it.
Yep.
And he's trying to get everybody to send a lot. He's trying to get at least 1 million. And see, you talk about how nobody's, they fuss and says nothing's going to be done. I get so aggravated because I share all this. They'd rather put up a funny meme or they'd rather put up something
Right.
stupid. And I think, listen, get over yourself.
Yep.
This is,
Yep.
We've got to work on it. We've got to send a letter. Why can't you send a letter? And so it is so simple. Lloyd's made it so easy to
Exactly.
do this.
Yeah, I saw his presentation on that.
Let me tell you something. I didn't know a thing about that until I watched Praying Mantis, and I really try to keep up with a lot of it. And I'm so happy I found you. It took me forever. I just happened to see one of your little TikTok things. I couldn't find you anywhere. I'm telling you the truth. It took me forever, and just by chance, somebody shared you on Truth Social. Now I put you on there every chance I get. And so that's how I found you, and I was so happy. You're doing a wonderful job, and I think, I love your stamina and everything that you say. You are a patriot, and I appreciate
that.
you do.
I appreciate that.
I really do. And
Well,
I share you with everybody I can.
Well, I appreciate that so much. It's interesting when you brought up Hillsdale. For those of you who don't know about Hillsdale, there is a there's a program that you can go through Hillsdale that is free. You sign up at Hillsdale,
That's right.
and it will teach you the Constitution inside and out. Absolutely free. It's a great.
Yes.
In fact, when I went back for a refresher, I took the Hillsdale program to get back up, to get refreshed before I started doing these podcasts and so on, because I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was talking about when I said, what this amendment is or what this means when they say this. It's a great program. In addition, what Brunson has got going on, and I think that this is an interesting question that he brought up the other day. The fight that they're fighting is just for transparency. They just want to see what happened, right? Just let us see what happened. Prove to us that we're wrong. Prove that you're right. Prove that you won, and we'll back off. But what he said is that we should expect to ask this question, of every politician that we meet and deal with. And it's one question. You swore an oath to protect the Constitution against domestic or enemies, both foreign and domestic. Can you define for me what a domestic enemy looks like? What is that? What are you protecting us from domestically? And if they don't say the deep state, if they don't say the FBI and the CIA, if they don't say these things, then they too are an enemy of the people. And that's what we have to start looking at. If these people will not abide by their oath, if they won't do what they're supposed to do, it's time for us to do what the Constitution gives us the authority to do, the responsibility to do, and drag them out of office and start again. We don't have to stick with them. They make it look like we do or make it seem like we do, but we don't. We have the authority. That piece of paper says these are the rules. I don't care what your policy is. I don't care what your rule is. They don't apply to me. I'm a citizen. I'm led by laws. You got a law, I'll follow it. And if I don't like it, I'll be an activist to make it change. But I don't follow rules, and I don't follow policies. I don't follow mandates. And that's what the American people have to do. Dr. Joyce, thanks so much for calling. I think that it's important for all of us to realize that no one steals your freedoms. No one takes your liberties. You give them willfully. I'm going to say it again. They don't take them. You give them through your silence. The people who say that nothing's ever going to happen, you deserve to have your rights stripped from you because you're too cowardly to stand up for them. If you got to ask permission to exercise your rights, they're not rights. If you've got to beg for permission to own a firearm, then the Second Amendment isn't a right. It's a privilege. We keep being told that if we just pass one more fucking law, we can fix this, we can fix that, we can do this, we can do that. Laws do not stop evil people from doing what evil people are going to do. They just don't. We have laws against murder. Still happens. And who cares how it happens? Guns, yeah, they're effective at doing that one thing. But far more people are stabbed. They're not trying to take away knives. Go to Great Britain, for example. You are 11 times more likely to be stabbed to death in London than you are to be shot in Detroit. 11 times more likely to be sliced and diced than to be gunned down in Detroit. But they'll never tell you that. Because evil people who are going to do evil things, they don't care the tool that they use. They'll use whatever they've got around. Ask Cain and Abel. Folks, I'm going to say it one more time because I think it needs to be said. It's your responsibility to maintain your freedoms and your liberties. It's your responsibility to maintain your rights. It's not mine. It's not anybody else's. When I come on here and I rant and I rave and I get all pissed off, it's because I'm defending mine. The actions I'm taking are for me. For me and mine. You may benefit, but I don't care if you do. What I want you to do is to see that the people are out there actually doing it. For those of you fuckers who say nothing's ever going to happen, just stay where you are. We don't need you. You're gonna be fine with whatever comes your way. You don't care. You're willing to give it all up as long as you've got a big chair to sit in at the end of the night and a flat screen with a beer in your hand, and you're probably drinking Bud Light to boot. Your freedoms are yours. They're your property. They're your rights. Remember, whenever somebody says that, they go, "That's my right. I have a right. It's my right." It's your right? Suddenly, it's your right? If it's yours, you better defend it, because they want it bad. They want it bad. Appreciate you dropping in tonight. We'll do the next thing, the same thing next week. We'll not be doing a show tomorrow night. I will leave you with this. There are big things coming. I've been talking about it. You're starting to see it. We expect in the next 6 to 10 weeks so much information to come out that you will not know what to do. It's going to seem like fucking overload. You've got to take action. You've got to be so disgusted by what you're learning. Great example is the new whistleblower against Biden himself. That the FBI and the DOJ have been slow rolling all this information. They've been hiding information that makes the Bidens look bad. In particular, crimes that Biden committed as VP. Has nothing to do with Hunter. Now it's daddy. Seems that the crook didn't fall too far from the tree. You've got to start expecting more, people. Expectations are what drive outcomes. You don't expect much, not much will happen. For those of you who come onto my content and say nothing's ever going to happen, expect to be blocked and booted. I'm not putting up with it anymore. I don't need you in my... We don't need you. You're useless, and you disgust me because your convenience is more important than your country. Your unwillingness to do anything yourself about it means that you'll go along with anything that comes along, whether it be Nazism, socialism, Marxism. You're good with it all, as long as you're comfortable. That does it for Kramer Says Live tonight. Catch us every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube. Don't forget to check and see if I've still got an account at number 87 on TikTok. You can always get our podcast at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. And if you get an opportunity, go over to CramerSez.com. Get yourself a free account on the social media platform that offers free speech on a regular basis. We do not censor. Go in there, build a community. We're building the tools. In addition to that, we're currently building out a brand new app. If you want to learn about that, you can go get information about it at CramerSezApp.com. That is CramerSezapp.com. It'll tell you all about it. And if you get the opportunity and you want to help us out, you can go back to CramerSez.com. I know it's confusing. We're going to get this all streamlined here in the next few weeks, but you'll be able to go back to CramerSez.com, create your own account, and go in and get yourself some merch. That's how we're funding this build out. I'm not asking people for money. I know it's tight, but if you want a shirt, at a high-priced shirt that's going for a good cause. If you want a high-priced hat or mug or whatever, please go in there. Check out what we've got in the store. We will be releasing a direct merch store here in the next week or so, and we'll let you know when that happens. In the meantime, God bless you. Keep fighting the fight. This is Kramer Says Live. It's Thursday. May the 4th be with you. We'll be back next week. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Get more at CramerSez.com. CramerSez.com.